45 is a start of the remedies, yeah, governing the break of contract by the seller. So it's something, it's an article that a general article that governs the buyer's right when the seller, the right to remedies, that when the buyers fails to perform. Okay, so we can see the articles here in red in green column. The first one, Article 40, yeah, Article 45, paragraph 1. If the seller fails to perform any of his obligation under the contract or this convention, the buyers may exercise the right provided in Article 46 to 52 and claim damages as provided in Articles 74 and 77. So we can have a look at that at here. So where here? The buyer's basic right to non-performance under CISG. So we call 46 to 52, yeah, here. So something like, firstly, require performance of the contract, require substitute goods, and in case of fundamental break, and then require repairment. So Article 64, we will talk about it later. But firstly, you see, there is uh, an order of the buyer's right. Firstly, performance of the contract. Second, substitute in case of the fundamental break, and then require repairment. So, and then 47, the grant of grace period. But it's easy that the grant of grace period is a grace, um, something, a mercy of the buyer's side. So it is not something that the seller can claim, can ask, can require. It is on the buyer's mercy. And then 48, the seller's performance after delivery is also accepted. And also buyers could declare the contract void in case of fundamental breach. And then for Article 50, the buyers ask for a price reduction. So it's something like we have talked at Article 40, 44. And then Article 40, 51, right under partial performance is also acceptable. And Article 40, 52, delivery before the fixed date. So it's also acceptable yeah, if the buyer accept it. So we can say this is something that most importantly, the Article 46 and also the Article 50, and then also the 49, the most important buyer's right in case of the non-conformance or non-performance. And Article 74 to 77 is a buyer's right to claim the damages. So there are different circumstances. So that is a buyer's basic right to the non-performance under the CSG. And Article 45, paragraph 2, the buyer is not deprived of any right he may have to claim the damages by exercising his right to other remedies. So that means the buyers may have another contractual remedies and some remedies permissible under the domestic law. So it's not deprived of by the CSG. And also Article 45, paragraph 3, no period of grace may be granted to the seller by a court or arbitral tribunal when the buyer resorts to a remedy for breach of contract. So that means only the buyer have the right to grant a grace period. Okay. Then, so look into this. Well, firstly, the purpose. The purpose of Article 45 is to construct a basis of buyer's right when the seller fails to perform, entitles buyer's basic right to seller's non-performance and not enumerate the buyer's right exhaustively. So here is an important idea. Exhaustively, that means the CSG articles just regulate A, B, C, D. So that means the buyer's right is only restricted to A, B, C, D, option A to option D. That means exhaustively. But CSG in this Article 45 is just regulate the buyers has a right A, B, C, D, and you maybe have further under different law, under your contractual duties, you may have a different right. Okay, so the buyers remains the right to other remedies, and the CSG prevails domestic legal remedies. So the domestic remedies will be replaced by the CSG, and the buyers cannot resort to domestic civil code. So that's the reason we call it CSG. So it's an international transaction. It's not governed by a domestic law. About the grace period, it's very easy to remember. The only right to grant grace period lies in the hands of the buyer. The court or the tribunal, the arbitral tribunal, has no such right. And the non-performance as a prerequisite, non-performance as a prerequisite for remedies shall be extent of the non-performance irrelevant to the buyer's remedies. And then certain remedies are subject to the fundamental breach, and reasons of the non-performance is irrelevant. Whether or not sellers acts in negligence is irrelevant. Let me explain in detail. So if the non-performance is in a great extent, that is a non-performance, no problem. But even if the non-performance is in a very short extent, in very short scope, it still constitutes non-performance. Yeah, and certain remedies are subject to fundamental breach, such like replacement. Here, we can say here, yeah. In case of fundamental breach, you can ask for, the buyer can ask for substitute. Yeah, so normally, you cannot ask for a substitute. And the reason of the non-performance is irrelevant. Yeah, because you just not fulfill your contractual promise. It doesn't matter what reason lies in. And whether or not in sellers negligence is also irrelevant. So the sellers is guaranteed to perform the contract. Negligence concerns to the damages, but it does not concern to the non-performance. So the constitution of non-performance is not relevant to negligence reasons extent. It doesn't irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Okay,